It was 4 years ago. I had this vision to start and keep going with the ministry that I had in America called Wins When Imagination Never Stops. And I was to take this football ministry, and I had this dream that I was supposed to go to Australia, and I was supposed to spread the gospel and also use football as a platform to do that. Welcome to the Myckx'n pot. Understood or started to understand the gift that God had bestowed upon me. In this dream, I had no idea how I got this facility. I had no idea who my wife was at the time. I had no idea of how that I started this thing, but I knew that God was telling me to move. And I wrestled with this for months. I was so fearful that I did not want to go because I was just beginning in America. I was just starting to get over the stumbling blocks, and I was going to be super embarrassed and super shameful to move to a different country at 30 years old. Like, I was fresh to turning it to 30. So I was in this mindset of like, I needed to have my life together. I needed to have things figured out. At the time, my daughter's like, she's going to be 11. So she was 7 years old, and I wasn't with her mother anymore. And I was just like in this midst of like trying to find myself. I was new into following Christ. I was trying to unlearn things. I was trying to like get out of my sin. I was struggling so much with lust. I was bouncing around. I was being terrible with money. But I knew I had a skill set to coach and to mentor. That's something that I was passionate about, and that's something that I knew God had gifted me. And when I was coaching these kids in America, and I was seeing the impact that not only that I was having on them, but what they were having on me, and they were bringing me out of this depression, I knew that I had to like follow that. So after wrestling with God, like for a couple months, I'm like, you know what? Tori at the time, she had to move back to Australia because her visa was expiring. So I was like, you know what? I'll go with you because I had this vision that I was supposed to go there, but I'm only going to stay for like 6 months, like just to try it out. I have no connections. There's no motion. There's nothing I know no one in the Central Coast. I've never been to New South Wales. This place is going to be foreign. I don't know. Am I going to go and like be like in this sunken place? I don't want to go there and like something happened to me and I don't have anyone to like, as a family to be there to like help me or to reach out to. Like, if I was going to go there, this was going to be a serious move because I didn't have any options to like, if this fails, that I could go to someone. And God kept telling me to go. So we end up going and we first get here, and Tori, after a couple of weeks, she's able to get a job. So she's working, she's able to drive. And on the outside, I'm looking happy. I'm trying to be optimistic. The Central Coast, it was beautiful, like the beaches, the people. But it was different, so different. And I immediately fell into a deep, dark depression, but I hid it very well. I was lonely. And in that loneliness, the lust of validation, the lust of just wanting to like feed into the temptations of seeing like different women and just wanting to like explore and do things like of the flesh and my carnal. And in that loneliness, like I said, I needed that validation. I needed people to tell me like, you're handsome. I needed people to tell me like, it's going to be okay. And even though I had Tori, my best friend at the time, she was working. So I really had no one to connect to. I really had no one who I felt like could understand the plight that I was going through, because I was there, I was waiting for a visa, I couldn't work, I couldn't contribute, and I felt like a bum. I felt like I couldn't do anything. So I was looking for this love in all the wrong places. And the devil, that's when his voice was just getting loud. The adversary was really in my ear, like, you stupid, you left your daughter in America to follow this stupid dream. Soccer's not even a big sport here. The football that you coach is not the type of football that they play here, mate. Like, no one's going to want to work with you. You're not going to get a job. Your visa's going to get denied. Like, you're not going to do anything. And I believed that for the longest time. I really believed it. And I wasn't living on my own. We were blessed to have Tori's parents accommodate us into a room. But I was frustrated because I didn't have privacy. I was 30 years old and I was having to live with someone again. I felt like a teenager, like I had to walk on eggshells. When I was frustrated, I had no outlet where to go. So I was really in a bad space. And then it was a situation where Tori's uncle, rest in peace, Dean, he was he was a great man. He was battling cancer, and this was towards the end, but he was still able to like move around and like, you know, be himself. And it was nothing. It was God who brought us back here and was able to make that connection. I was able to talk to Dean and spit a yarn with him and just chat with him. And he wasn't a Christian, but he heard me out and he understood that, he heard out that I wanted to have a ministry, and he saw how on fire I was for God, and he listened and he didn't judge. And even though he wasn't into like the concept of Jesus, he still knew that God was real. It was one day where he asked me to come down to his house and to help him out with yard work. He knew that I didn't have a job at the time, or I couldn't work until my visa was cleared. So it was a couple months where I was collecting cans just to kind of get by. Tori was working at the time, so she was really like bearing the bulk of the burden. And we went down to stay with him, and he was like, "Yeah, Myckx, you want to do some yard work for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, mate, like, of course I'll help him out." Because again, like, he was battling with cancer, so he was on the tail end, so he didn't have really a lot of strength to do some of the things. And we go down, I do the yard work, and he's like, let me pay you. And me, I'm thinking it's gonna be like $20, $50, and I'm appreciative, like anything. And honestly, I was doing it for free. Like I wasn't expecting anything. That's just the person I am. It's like I don't mind helping. I love to farm. I love to garden. I love to do certain things like that. So I wasn't expecting anything. And he was like, "No, like let me line your pockets. Let me do something for you." You know. He goes into his room, then he comes back out with $300. And I'm like, "What is this?" He's like, "This is for you, for helping me." And I'm just like, "Dean, this is too much." And he was like, "No, like, you need to start." And that was the first time that I started to get my faith back, that my faith was restored, because I thought I was alone. I thought that I was making a stupid decision, and this adversary was like really in my ear, like telling me that I'm worth nothing. And for this man to not know me and to only know me for a couple months, and to be like, "This is a start. Keep doing what you're doing and keep applying yourself. This is just it." And when he gave me that, it really sparked something. And I felt like God was using Dean in that moment. A couple months later, I'm starting to reach out to different football clubs and associations to see if I can volunteer, to see if I can like get in some type of coaching, because this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I'm emailing Berkeley Vale. I'm emailing Kalani, the Entrance, Terrigal, Canwell. At the time, I didn't know where these places were, but I'm just emailing, and I am getting ghosted. Like, nothing. No one's responding back to me. No one, no one's getting back. It's you can see tumbleweeds, and I get frustrated. And I'm like, dang. And so I started to go out to the parks and to the ovals, and I'm seeing like there's no goalposts. The goalposts are locked. There's no nets. There's no turf fields, and I'm just like I'm in total dismay because I'm just like, how is this going to work? Like, how am I going to have this ministry? How am I going to be a personal one-on-one trainer in small groups? Like, how is this football ministry supposed to grow if I don't have the platform, if I don't have anything to help me? Like, it seems like every time I get a step up, like another barrier comes. And I kept wallowing in that. And God kept telling me to calm, to stop complaining, to stop being fearful, to stop doubting, and to trust. And so I did. I remember I had me throw out, and I knew there wasn't a lot of like barbers around the Central Coast who knew how to cut me texture of hair. So I went up to this place right up the street from Berkeleyville, and I went in, and the guy, like his eyes were like, oh wow, dang, about me hair. And I was like, hey, do you know how to cut me hair? And he was like, I don't. I've never cut your hair before, but we'll give it a go. And he was asking me what I was doing, and like, what did I do for work and what I was doing there. And I told him I had just moved from the States, and I was a football trainer, and I was starting a ministry. And he was like, oh, you should go check out this guy named Josh Rose. He's right around the corner. He's the old Mangara. And I was like, yeah, I've been reaching out to all these local football clubs, and I'm just not getting anything back from them. It's like, I know the sport's not big here, but like it's just kind of like really depressing. And he was like, nah, just check out Josh Rose. Like I think that'll be a decent fit. I think that it's just right around the bend. Like it couldn't hurt to check it out. So after me haircut, Tori and I, we drive around there, and this beautiful facility, like this turf field and this huge, messy, and Sam Kerr on the brick wall. And I get the email, and I email, and Josh immediately responds, and he's like, yeah, mate, like stop on by. He's like, well, they were coming out of term at that time, and he was telling me like, look, we've stopped for term, but we're gonna start back up in a couple weeks, and I have your email. I'll reach back out to you. A couple weeks came, and Josh didn't reach out, so I was like, you know what? I had this feeling that's like God telling me to like go check in. And so we happened to drive by, and Josh is actually there. And I walk up to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm Myckx'n, I emailed you, and this is this. And he's like, yeah, mate, why don't you come by on this day? And that's when I got me start into coaching with Rose Football Academy. I was coaching there for a couple months, and it was amazing. But I also knew that my style of coaching was something that was very foreign to them. It was very new. I saw certain parents were very like apprehensive of the style that I was coaching. And I know that I'm a type of person that takes a while to get used to. But one day, this Irish woman with like this beautiful soul, like she walks up to me and she gives me this note. And I get home and I read it. And it says like, hey, I think you're a wonderful coach, and I wanted to know, do you do one-on-ones? And I remember like this intense feeling, and I started to cry on my because at the time I didn't have a car, so I was biking home. I was either walking home or I was biking. And I had left training that night and walking the bike, and I was reading the note, and I was reading it, and she was like, would you do one-on-ones with my son? And I was like, this is God again, putting someone in the path, something that I've doubted, that he keeps putting Dean, this woman named Rebecca, Josh, he's putting these people in place to allow me to, like, son, you were doubting me, but I told you I will never leave you, and I told you to trust me. Rebecca and her son, they were the first people to, like, trust me and to, like, give my training, the Winds Ministry, a chance, an opportunity. And from there, Rebecca was able to, like, bring her friends, who are now my neighbors. And I don't believe in coincidences, but this is how beautiful and intrinsic God is, of how he interweaves things together. And I started to build a network from there. I tried to reach out to churches, and I tried to reach out to other opportunities, because even though I loved what I was doing at the Rose Academy, I knew that I was in Australia for a specific reason. And I didn't want to get comfortable or complicit or complacent, that I knew that my style of coaching, with being faith and spreading the gospel, that it wasn't, I didn't want to step on Josh and his philosophy's toes. That I knew that I was very thankful and very blessed and very humbled to be there and to learn from an ex-professional, to learn from a guy who's still coaching at a high level, and had a IQ and a brain to learn from him. So I'm thankful for that opportunity, but I knew that I was not supposed to be there for longevity. I started to coach there, and I started to really build a reputation. And people were like, there's something about this guy, Myckx, like this. He has this energy about him. He has this thing. And I remember I was at a tournament one day, and this guy comes to me at the urinal. Nothing, no weird stuff, but he comes to me, and I don't know this guy. He doesn't play. His kid didn't play for the Rose Academy. He was just like a random parent that happened to be in the tournament. And he was like, mate, you have something about you, this aura about you, and it's infectious. What is it? And I said, it's Jesus. And he was like, I got to give this Jesus a try. Every pitfall, every adversity, every struggle, every moment that we fail, that we feel like we don't need people. Because I got into that mentality that all these people who doubted me, all these people who shut the door in my face, all the people who said that I wasn't going to be able to do it, or you want to do a Winds ministry, you want to do a football ministry, you want to give free lessons and have free this and that. Like, where's football's not free, mate. Like, you can't do that. And I was getting that in the States, and then I was moving here. And even though I was building up a reputation, people were still saying that. And I'm not going to put these people on Front Street, because that doubt or that misbelief, I didn't need that to validate me. And I didn't need to prove them wrong. I just needed to prove God right. I needed to show them the power of what it means to believe in Jesus, or what it means to have a blind faith and to walk in that faith. That's the power that exudes. That's the aura that people feel from me. It's not about doing it the Myckx way. It's about doing it the right way. Having a standard, having a structure, having a faith, having a belief, being objective, and expecting excellence from these youth, really loving them appropriately, and really pouring into them, and really developing a relationship with them, to follow them on their course of this transaction. Because I remember that I didn't have that type of mentorship when I was young. That some of the people that I was idolizing and looking up to were just as lost as I was, but they were just better at hiding it. And that the most perfect human being, we crucified him. So did I not expect to have doubt? Did I not expect to have people I don't want to use the word crucified, but did I, Who was I to expect that people were not going to disbelieve or not have faith in what I could do if they crucified the most perfect man to walk this earth? And Jesus tells us that if they hated him, they will hate you for believing in me. And you read these things in the Bible, and when you see them, when you see the living word come out, and when you see certain things happen in real time, it just confirms and it roots you more into God's word. It's intense, and it is terrible. It is scary, if I'm being completely honest. It's scary, but it just confirms how true the gospel is, how true the Bible is, and his word, and what God says will be fulfilled. There's nothing new under the sun. Three years later, we went from struggling, not knowing where certain things were going to come from. We have a beautiful home. We have a daughter who will be one in September, God willing. I'm married to my best friend in the whole world. I'm fighting the lust. I'm fighting the temptations. I'm fighting the self-doubt. I'm fighting the urge of validation. I'm learning how to forgive people. Because still in this walk, you see the toxicity of what it is to be a coach, and what this sport can actually bring out in people. Sport is intense. When you have adults and children fighting, when you have children wanting to be individualistic and not care about the rest of the team and wanting to only serve themselves, and you have parents feeding this ego, and then when you have parents coming and hey, I want you to do this for my son and my daughter, and then when you do it for them, it's like, oh, they're happy for it, but as soon as you move on, or as soon as like that you try to go and venture out to do other things, they hate you. They don't want you there. They're starting to threaten you with defamation, and because you're speaking out and you're having a voice, and you're calling injustices, and you're not understanding what's going on, what's causing this rift, when all you're doing is being honest. All you're doing is trying to pour love and into encouragement, and really see their children grow. Because sometimes parents, we get this lens where we can't view our children objectively. But when you have a coach, when you have a mentor, when you have a teacher who truly sees them and expects excellence from them, and is not going to coddle, is going to be disciplined and structured and standard, we sometimes get a little bit up in arms with that. But God, he keeps placing people like a Dean, like a Josh Rose, like a Rebecca, like a Adele and her family, like a Sarah and a Isla, and the Morrisons, and David, and all these people that God continues to put in the path to be like, son, you are not alone. I know I've struggled with my faith and my walk. I mean, I feel like, man, these I can't find a Christian community, because I'm searching for this perfection. And God keeps reminding me, like, Myckx, no one's perfect. You're not perfect. So you trying to find this perfect Christian, you trying to find this perfection of Christian community, doesn't exist. It's okay to stand up for things that's being said in my name, but is being false. But you have to be careful with your quickness to judge people. And you have to find a church community, or make one of your own, that's still going to be followed correctly, and that you're not going to veer away to have this power where people are to worship you. I am not self-made. I couldn't do this, and I wouldn't be here without a Tori, without a Dean, without a Rebecca, without a Josh, without any of these people who are a part of the Winds ministry, who believed in me, who took a chance on me, an opportunity. Even the ones who doubted me, even the ones who turned me down, even the ones who still laugh and be like, you're not going to be able to do this ministry. I smile and I thank them for their criticism, and I thank them for their doubt, and I thank them for their opinion. Because I look you right in the camera. I will make it. This ministry will bloom. We will have an indoor facility. We will have property and land to where we have, and we can run free clinics. We can run and we can make this game accessible to everyone, where it's free or it's reduced priced, because it's not all about making money. It's about accessing this game, and it's about sharing the gospel, and it's about having purpose in this life. So all the doubt, I love it. Wins.